Good morning, and thank you for staying tuned to Citizen TV. Of course, the conversation here has already begun, but not officially, as we want to talk about the young voices ahead of the 2022 general election. I want to introduce the panelists here. We have Kinyanjui Koimburi, who is the founder of Climate Change Kenya. Good morning. He's also interested in politics, and he has been doing several things. We'll be talking about that later on. Then you have Njeri Maina, who is a lawyer and founder of Kirinyaga
Youth Alliance.
Kirinyaga Youth Alliance. On this other side, we have Said Osman, who is a youth leader, previously a politician as well. Okay, once upon a time worked with the Jubilee Party. I don't know whether that's still the case.
I think things have changed.
Things have changed. Okay, we'll be talking about that later on.
Yeah.
Gloria Roba, who is also a youth policy analyst.
An incoming member of parliament for Bobasi constituency.
Bobasi, very interesting. And of course, let's listen to, to this young boy. Excuse me, who does this on a Friday morning? It's not right. But we'll be talking about many things. But first, let's take a look at the stories making headlines on the different dailies. On the front page of the Daily Nation is former IEBC bosses at center of 2022 poll. And of course, you see the faces of Ezra Chiloba, who previously was CEO IEBC. Now is the new Director General at Communications Authority of Kenya. Andy Rito was once in charge of training at IEBC. Now is the political parties registrar. Immaculate Kasait, once in charge of voter education at IEBC. Now is the data commissioner, which is a new position created by a new law. James Muhati was once in charge of ICT at IEBC. He's now the Huduma Kenya chief. And of course, there has been several reactions on to what that means. Then you'll see the political stories of Gideon Moi launching his bid, but fails to mention One Kenya Alliance ties. Of course, that event was attended by different leaders, including Raila Odinga, ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi, and Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka. Then you'll see at the side Uhuru hand in Raila's Mount Kenya foray. That's on the Daily Nation. Then on the Standard, it is Gideon's grand entry into race that Kanu makes emphatic statement on Kenya's next leadership when over 3,000 delegates congregated at the Bomas of Kenya and endorsed Gideon Moi for presidency to run in that election. Again, he was accompanied by several other leaders from One Kenya Alliance as well as Raila Odinga from ODM. So we don't know what this is shaping out to be. And I will begin with you, Kinyanjui, because now you're here. As you look at what is going on, begin with that story of IEBC. Are these genuine concerns or they're just suspicions of people that may have managed the election but now holding some, what would appear some powerful positions? Do you have a proper legal regime that would ensure that there's no quote-unquote monkey business in the election 2022?
Thank you so much for that question, Sam. And I think the biggest fear that we have as a youth and maybe as the voters who are actually now planning to vote for the first time or maybe for the second time in 2022, we are seeing a recurrent of the same scenario because we were hoping to see new faces so that we can be able to get that confidence in this electoral body. And putting in mind that one Ezra Chiloba, at one time, he was actually moved away from his previous position due to allegations that were there. So suddenly now we are seeing this disconnect, and we are wondering how comes now this person has now all of a sudden been painted white, and now we have been given him in a new cloth, kind of an umbrella for us to absorb him.
But Kinyanjui, there was never a case in court against Chiloba.
Yeah, there wasn't. But you see, the scenario whereby now he was actually moved from that docket to the other, they should come out clear. So what we're asking is for them to actually come out clear. If it was actually he was implicated falsely, they should come out clear also, so that now we continue the same path, because we want to make sure that the elections will be credible. We want to ascertain that the people and the faces we see there, they are people who actually we can be able to put our faith on that.
That's interesting. And Jeremy, what are your thoughts? Are you afraid or it's going to be well?
Well, I'm not afraid, but I believe that if the powers that be decide that the elections will not be free and fair, even if we have a different face, let's say from Chiloba's, okay? We are not guaranteed unless we have proper mechanisms to ensure that the election is free and fair. I believe whoever we see as, being proposed or chairing this or being the head of this, is irrelevant. What is needed and required of the government is to assure the Kenyan public that the elections will be free and fair. That is our main concern, because despite whoever they put there, okay, monkey business, like you have said, can be played by anybody. As long as the government is behind pulling the strings, we want them to assure Kenyans that whoever will be leading Kenya after come 2022 elections is somebody that we will have chosen as Kenyans.
In your experience, how does government pull strings? Because one would imagine that IBC is the referee, so it's up to the politicians to just let out, and then IBC will count the votes. Who pulls the strings?
Well, the government has machinery at the end of the day. It is the government that decides this person is going to get this position, this person is going to be appointed or chair these. So at the end of the day, the people who head certain institutions in Kenya, there is a lot that the government has to say about that. And I believe that we have not yet gotten to a point where we can see we have strong independent institutions in Kenya. We have a long way to go. The government still decides this power play, these negotiations, certain regions getting this person, this is your person, this is mine. And at the end of the day, the government is the one in the position to decide this is going to happen. Is
that the feeling of the young people?
I believe it is a common feeling. It is not rocket science because, like I have said, we do not have strong institutions in Kenya. We don't have institutions that can stand up to the government.
Okay. Just before you throw stones at me, I'm also a young person, but I need to ask the questions. Gloria, what are your thoughts about the preparations for the elections, even as you look at the headlines that are on the two dailies this morning?
I think let me speak on the appointment of Ezra as the Director General of Communication Authority. What young people should know is that 2022 general elections are not going to be the same. We have different modes, particularly now with the pandemic. We've actually learned how to use social media and other forms of communication as a powerful tool for campaigns. And what young people should know is that Ezra has actually been given all the powers and the mandates to regulate these tools, because the Director General of the Communication Authority, actually, that is a regulatory authority that basically can wake up one day and switch off WhatsApp, and there goes all your information that you're receiving in terms of a candidate. It's also the same regulatory authority that actually can decide that Citizen TV, as we have seen in the past, will be switched off and will not be transmitting, for instance, when we are actually relaying the results, you know. And a lot of media houses have actually said come 2022 they are prepared to have live transmissions once from the tallying center. So I mean, you shouldn't take it as a sort of it's not, this is a powerful position, and the person who has the instruments of controlling all communication systems, all communication, what you'd say, frequencies and tools and everything. We're not just talking about the mainstream media. We are talking about broadcasting. We are talking about online platforms. We are talking about where the young people, because you know, for the youth who constitute of 75.1% of the electorate, most of them are actually going to be engaging in politics from a point of, let's say, social media, from a point of, you know, if I want to follow what's happening, who's actually vying for this governor, why should I vote for this or that? Their information is coming from these platforms, which now Ezra Chiloba, with his allegations in the past, is going to be controlling. So, I mean, the question, if you ask, are we afraid? Yes, because look at how Uganda went. At one point, even the internet was switched off, you know. That's how powerful the Director General of Communication Authority is.
I just want to quickly look at the responsibilities of the Communication Authority, because there are certain things that you have said here on set that may be challenging, and the responsibilities include licensing all systems and services in the communications industry, including telecommunications, postal courier, broadcasting, managing the country's frequency spectrum and numbering resources, facilitating the development and management of a national cybersecurity framework, facilitating the development of e-commerce, type approving and accepting communications equipment meant for use in the country, protecting consumer rights within the communications environment, protecting the rights, managing competition within the sector to ensure a level playing ground for all players, regulating retail and wholesale tariffs to communication services, managing the Universal Access Fund to facilitate access to communication services by all in Kenya. This is part of what is being used to extend the access to 3G, 4G connectivity across all sublocations in the country, and monitoring the activities of licensees to enforce compliance with the license terms and conditions, as well as the law. I just wanted to read that. But also
even just pick that one element of ensuring that the 3G and 4G connection, Because remember, when we were talking about system failures, some polling stations don't have that much coverage, Safaricom doesn't reach, I don't know where and where. There are so many loopholes in there, or what you would say, not really loopholes, there are so many opportunities for the person sitting there to actually decide to tamper with an electoral process. And you know, the issue is not the office in itself. The issue is having someone whose reputation has already been marred by all sorts of alleged allegations.
But Gloria, all of us here are young people, and these allegations against an official that have not been substantiated, nobody has taken him to court. How do you say that such kind of baggage should hold them back in progressing with their lives?
I participated actively in the last 2 elections as a young voter and as a, let me say, mobilizer. And whether or not, for Baba, I threw away my Safaricom SIM card for him.
You did?
I did.
You got it back.
I got it back. But let me tell you, my thing is, from my experience and what I saw and what I witnessed and what I was made to believe by the what I would say facts or information that was out there, and the fact that Ezra actually did not come out or even attempt to you know, correct whatever was out there. I think I'm convinced, without a doubt, that we could have had a more non-biased person who was placed there as a Director General. And actually, we could have had a person who does not have any electoral issues.
All right.
Let me say historical injustices.
Okay. All right. Of course, the information we get from CA is that there are several applications.
53.
Yes, but there were 7 people that were interviewed, and Chiloba was the best. Osman, are you as concerned, as bothered by these faces you see in the Daily Nation as the other colleagues?
It is very ironic, actually, to see such faces, because I remember 2017, we had some issues with some of the officials there, and if we add the dots from CA to now the IEBC, what matters in this world is the timing. The intention might be correct, but the timing might be wrong. We are not accusing our brother Ezra that he's done this or that, because it was not you know, found guilty of anything. But the only thing that the youth and most of Kenyans are concerned is, why now?
Okay.
And secondly, it's ironical also, some people, well, those days, especially the political class of, let me say, of the opposition of the time, were like my sister here and others who threw the SIM card. We accuse accusing this guy Ezra for some malpractice, and today I think the same people are beating the drums for him. So it's politics. The only thing that we are we are asking and we are urging Kenyans is that IEBC plays a very important and vital role in the peace and stability of this country. We had what we had in 2007, and also there's no election that I think we never had some noise and complaint of the official of the IEBC.
Okay.
I think this time around is a bit lower than that before, to be honest, because I remember a time like this before we used to have a lot of demonstration along our streets complaining about the IEBC officials and so on. So the only thing we're urging the IEBC, please take personal responsibility, and every person should have, the role that they play in the peaceful and stability of this country.
All right. Okay. All right. I want us to make transition. We'll come back to matters politics because they are appearing to bring some excitement here. But first, let's talk about some pertinent issues in the country, and that is to do with the state of the economy. You've seen what has happened in the past few days, the rising fuel prices, the rising cost of living. Of course, because of the fuel prices and energy costs, it leads to higher cost of production. You've seen the job cuts, partly because of the COVID-19 situation, but also the state of the economy. But how are younger Kenyans dealing with it? Because, of course, you hear of the cases of unemployment, a youthful economy, or a youthful society. Where are we? And I want us to begin with Njeri, because just want to indicate here, the ages vary between 27 up to 36. So that's the range here, pretty in the young bracket. But how is it for the young people with all these situations in the economy, and do you think there's any chance that this can be fixed in the next election?
To be quite honest, it's really hard for the young people because, like you have said, they do not have jobs first. So these are people who have left campus. They have no employment. COVID-19 hits, and then the economy even spirals out of control. We have seen the rise of mental health issues. We have seen the rise of suicide cases because young people are frustrated. Do I think this can be fixed in the next coming election? It is an uphill task for the person who is going to win in 2022. It is not going to be a walkover because we have so much that we need to fix that it is going to take time, and it is going to be climbing up the mountain, literally. Because I believe as of now, with COVID and with unemployment and with all these other issues where we have seen fuel prices are up, the cost of living is ridiculous. It is going to be very hard for the next coming president, but it is doable. We need the goodwill to be there. If the goodwill is there, we can start rectifying, and we will walk the journey.
And Kinyanjui, what's your story like? I got some snippets of you and what you've studied and what you've been able to do. In 2013, you were 8 years younger. You can declare your age if you want. You were 8 years younger. How have the fortunes changed through those 8 years?
Thank you so much for that question, Sam. And I have a burning answer. I wanted to reply earlier, but the question, the first round went round, but I wanted just to support my sister here, who actually had sentiments of issues in terms of the deep state and all that. I wanted to clarify to you one thing. One segment that was actually aired yesterday during the news gang, it actually showed that the sentiment from the governor of Nyandarua, that is Francis Kimemia, he categorically said that in terms of elections, there are powers that be that actually play a huge role in terms of actually controlling the election, be it foreigners or even within. He was actually quoted here on video. That one, if a person in government actually puts out such a statement, then it tells you that they're actually killing the credibility that we're having. Secondly, Dr. Rosalind Akombe, in a tweet that she actually posted, which was actually also discussed during the news gang yesterday, she actually tweeted this. And with the appointment of the new CAA Director General, 2022 is sealed. With such sentiments, that is on a Twitter handle, with such sentiments, somebody saying that the appointment of the new CA director means 2022 is sealed, you see already that one is killing the credibility out there, because these are colleagues who used to work together. But setting that aside, going back to the question you have posed in terms of what I've done in terms of 2013, I'm part of that generation of the youth that actually are frustrated with the system. Frustrated in that the government has invested so much in us. We have voted for it. But all in all, we end up being at the bottom in terms of seeking for jobs. When it comes even for looking for jobs, we meet so many hurdles. In terms of you must come up with a KRS certificate, ethics certificate. You must come up with a health clearance certificate. You must come up with all these certificates, which cost up to a tune of 6,000 shillings. That one you're asking to somebody, a youth who is actually not employed, to come up with 6,000 so that they can get an employment which they're not sure they will get. When you talk about my case scenario, I told you I used to be a high school teacher, a registered TSC teacher. I used to be a biology teacher, teaching from Form 1 to Form 4. I have taught various schools in Nakuru.
Up until which year?
Up until in 2019. I joined TSC in 2018. I resigned in 2019.
So when did you clear university?
I cleared university in 2013. That is from Egerton University.
And what are you doing between 2013 and 2018?
2013 to 2014, after I cleared my university in Egerton in 2013, I enrolled for a master's degree in Kenyatta University, where I did my master's in climatology until 2016. While I was doing my thesis, I got another scholarship to go to Sweden, where I did my second master's again in Sweden, in master's in earth science. I completed it in 2018. I came back again. I completed the earlier first master's in KU, and I graduated in 2019 July. Luckily enough, I got another scholarship, so I had to resign from TSC now in 2019 to undergo the PhD scholarship that I was undertaking in China, in Beijing, China. So basically, I had to transition from that. You can see,
finished?
I am now due to finish it. Due to the COVID situation, I came back here, but I'm due to graduate next year in June.
So with a bachelor's degree, 2 master's degrees, and a PhD almost graduating, how have you used this knowledge in this country?
What I've resolved to do in it is that I've thought that I realized that when it comes to employment in Africa, and mostly maybe me talk about Kenya, when you bring your CV to any institution, the first question they ask you, who sent you? Instead of asking you...
Have you been asked that question?
I have. I can't mention where, but the question is, who sent you, or what do you have to bring to the table? This one now is actually now making the youth, and maybe a person like me, is what actually initiated me to start my own organization. An organization that is catered towards climate change, a consultancy firm, where I actually now end up employing others and creating employment for myself. So that is a leeway I took for myself.
And how is it going?
It is going well. I've been engaged in various consultancy projects with the government. Recently, I was part of a task force that was looking into the rising water levels within the Rift Valley that was headed by P.S. Kipto. Also, I'm part of the task force that is looking into the Lake Nakuru rising water levels that is actually headed by the governor of Nakuru County. So in totality, I'm telling you that opportunities are there, but the youth should not put all their mindset into the white-collar jobs.
Okay. All right. Osman, I don't know what your story is like. Again, if you want, you can disclose your age. I just gave a range here. But how have you seen your life, especially economically, because the country is where it is, but how has it been for you between 2013 and now?
Actually, right now, this time round, there's nothing that we compared, or we can compare that to remember us, the youth. A time like this has ever came to pass. Because this time round, actually, the economy is really biting too hard and too harsh. And I wish our politicians who are now coming together, forming, coalition and all these things, could have come together and now fight the economy together. Because I think this will be the election. This election will be the lowest
voter turnout.
Voter turnout.
Why?
In history, because people are tired of politicians. Because no one is here to talk about the economy when the time is right. And people have even seen there's no relevance in voting. All that because of the elections. And people think that, tribal lines in terms of coalition will bring, what do you call voter turnout and so forth. But the basic line is people are suffering, and the youth are suffering. And the way our brother there said, there's a lot actually to think of in this country.
So for you and the people around you that are around your age, how have you been making ends meet? I mean, what I'm trying to look for is, we keep saying that the economy is so bad.
Yes.
But now I have 4 young people who have had a practical experience.
Yes.
How is it for you and the people around you?
Okay, I think people have, there are others in terms of this COVID-19 after it came, there are those people who it became a blessing in disguise, to be honest, and have thought of now doing and venturing into new businesses or in ideas, because the way 90 or let's say 70% of the youth are in informal sector, 70% of the youth, let's say that way. And right now I think they've gone up to 90%, because in 2017 I was here bringing, giving you the number of youth who are in white collar jobs and those who are in formal sector. And that time things I think were better than this, and the informal sector is about 60 or 55%, those who are doing the job. But right now actually it's gone up to 80 to 90%. Why? Because people have lost their jobs. Those people who are doing the official or white collar job, and the way the youth are making right now the ends meet is to think an alternative of hard jobs and fighting the economy the way it comes right now. And the way you ask it, what you ask is how are we you know, fighting the economy, or how are we, you know, making the ends meet, right? And those people who came together made, you know, their own contribution, and at least others, you know, opening up barber shops, others opening up what you call micro businesses here and there. But still, the ends are not meeting. Let's be honest to each other. And however we fight hard, if the bigger cow up there, the government, is not doing, the economy is not trickling down and giving it to the youth, and our politicians are not thinking of any other thing alternative, I think things are still hard, some. Yes.
And Gloria, as you look at it, you said earlier on that you are aspiring for a political seat, which we'll talk about later on. But as you look at the landscape, the economic landscape in this country, and how it has affected the young people, you've seen it all. I mean, since you got into the age bracket of the youth until now, what are those things that you've seen that need to be corrected to change the fortunes for the young people? Because let's agree that not all of us may fit in the formal sector, not all of us may have the white-collar jobs, but there are many other opportunities. What are the things that you've seen that need to be fixed and you think politics can facilitate?
One of the things we need to understand is we have 800,000 youths entering the job market every year. And in 2018, which was, let's say, our highest year of job creation, we created around 700,000 jobs. I think that was when we were really trying with the low-cost housing, we were really trying to push on industries where we would open up the job market. Now, if you have figures of 800,000 youth getting into the job market every year, then you ask yourself, once they're graduating, you've had people who have master's degrees, what in all this kind of, I would say, white-collar kind of education, you know, approaches. Then you ask yourself, are we really, our education sector, first of all, is it preparing our youth into a relevant job market? That's the first thing. And then the second thing, if you have 800,000 youth getting into the job market every year, how are we going to create these jobs? Because the jobs are not going to exist, you know, they are not just going to miraculously come up. Even if government, and actually even if Safaricom, who's the highest employer in this country, with, I think their numbers directly employing 5,500 and then indirectly 500,000. Even Safaricom cannot fill in the gap of these 800,000 youths that are out there.
So what do we do?
At the end of the day, we need two things. We need to push for social enterprises. Social enterprises is basically all the problems that we have around our communities. How do we turn those problems into opportunities that are economically empowering the youth? In short, we are always talking about certain things, for instance, garbage, waste, plastic, and things like that. How do we push for the youth to understand that even with my degree in environmental science, I don't need to go and sit in an office somewhere and churn out data and give analysis. I can actually use that information and translate it into creating an enterprise. As you said, not everyone is an entrepreneur, but each enterprise that is created, it doesn't matter whether it is, like he said, a barber shop or what, at one point must employ 1 to 15 people. So if we're harnessing this social enterprise kind of culture, where we are not just saying to our institutions like Uwezo Fund and Youth Fund, put the youth in groups of 10, give them money. What are you giving them money for? You know, you put, they normally go in groups of 10, they get 50,000, they divide that by 10, kila mtu akipata pesa yake ananunua data, anaenda na watch view sasa. You know, so at the end of the day, it's not sustainable. It's really just, now that's what we call tokenism. But if we say that we are actually going to train the youth on basic business skills, and I'm not talking about actuarial science, how you analyze your books, and I'm just talking about money in, money out, how to scale up your business, profits, loss, basic. And then we say, you go through this training, even if it's 3 months, and then after that, once we have seen that you have an understanding of how to run a basic business, then we ask you, what are you passionate about? People will tell you, mimi ni msanii, usanii sasa ina pesa, but then how are you going to make sure that every month, at least you pay yourself a minimum wage, that is 8,000 going up, and at least employ one other person. So if we're going to create jobs in this country, someone has to intentionally think about it. And I've seen that, actually, let me just say, Jubilee government tried. They really did. When they were pushing for the low-cost housing, you know, it had nothing to do with the actual housing. It had everything to do with pushing for the plumbers, pushing for the electricians, you know, what we call now the tertiary, the TVET.
TVET,
So that they can actually leave college and have instant employment, or even start a company that will have 3 or 4 plumbers here and get a contract from government. And we saw that the National Construction NCA Authority actually has, I don't know if it's still ongoing, but they had a program where they were bringing in all these TVET graduates and saying that, you know, this is how you set up a business. Once you know, get through registration and blah, 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 come, we are going to give you a contract under the houses in Gara. So we need to be a bit more intentional. And this is where I really feel sad when I see our ministers, those who are representing the youth, you know, currently, going out and making very loose comments such as, the youth need to be empowered. The youth must wake up. What are you talking about? You're the minister who's under the youth category. What you should be telling us is, in this quarter, these are the many jobs we have created by either A, deciding to digitize whichever economy, by either B, lands. We have partnered with the Ministry of Lands. Now they are digitizing all their paperwork. Who is digitizing that paperwork? That can actually be a sort of channel where now you bring all these tech gurus and tell them, form your companies, employ 2 or 3 people, we are giving you contracts at lands. So that's how you create jobs.
You don't think they have done that? I think I attended an event at the unveiling of the digitization process by the Ministry of Lands, and actually the people who are doing the job were young people.
Can I tell you something? We have pumped in so much money on the data center that is hosting that information, the data from lands. On the first day when the CS, I think, was here in Citizen with Jeff Koinange, the whole system crashed. Then they said, oh, it's not about capacity because we invested in this and that. You could tell that what they're doing is bringing these experts, we call them expatriates from outside. They come in, they set up the systems, they go, they take 2 or 3 local from the inner circle, and then they tell them, run the system. Now, the one thing I asked during that time is, a data center, ideally, because I come from the data center industry, I actually manage the data center of Facebook in Denmark. A data center, if you open a data center today for Facebook, you have immediately 1,000 direct jobs. Our data center here and our Ministry of Youth and ICT, the one that Musheru went to open the other day, how many jobs did it create? Honestly, if you look at the numbers, there's something wrong. If you ask me, our leaders don't understand how to intentionally create jobs in the various industries, and that's the gap.
All right, Njeri, I want us to exit from this conversation. You're younger than everyone here. So, as you listen to your older fellow youth, what are you learning? And so, because there's someone on Twitter is saying, let my fellow young people not sell negativity, let them offer solutions. What do you think you need to do so that by the time you're crossing the bracket to the upper side of life, you'll not be saying the same things they're saying here?
Very well. I think that what I can learn, or the takeaway from my fellow youth, is that these issues have been there. They have been there since they were younger than I am, and they are there up to now, and that now we need to focus on solutions. We can't only look at the problems, we have to look at the solutions, and I think Gloria has suggested that there needs to be goodwill. And like she has said, in regard to the data center, and I believe the crash sometimes is you know, teething problems, you know, even with this digitization of the judiciary, we have teething issues sometimes, the system is down, but I believe that is something that will be rectified over time. So what we need to do right now, I believe we need to involve the young people of this nation in even decision making, and even avail some of these positions for them, and also ensure that we make the ground leveled for them so that they feel that it's fair, even in business. If you open a business, or if you even fund a youth to open a business, but then the atmosphere is not convenient for them, or is not going to help the business thrive, that you have not helped them at all. So I believe that we need to look at solutions right now, and it can be done. There is hope for this nation, and young people of this nation are very hardworking. And I think the what we have right now, which maybe they didn't have at the time, is a platform of social media. It's become big and people are making money out of it. We also need to look out of the formal jobs that people are, you know, society has, quote unquote, conditioned a lot of us, you know. You're told, go to school, study hard, be a doctor, be a lawyer. You know, those are the jobs you were told, or be a teacher, or be these and these. We need to look outside the traditional setups of formal jobs. And we need to think even in regard to intellectual property as of now, you know. And I believe young people can maximize on that with the government support and leveling the ground for them.
They told you to go and study law, and you did.
I wanted to. I love law.
Interesting. So now it's 10 minutes past 7 o'clock. We continue this conversation, and the next segment we'll be talking about the perspectives of the young voters going into this election. Some of them are interested in politics. They'll be telling us about that, but also looking at the national political stage and where the young people fit there. Are they just followers of the older generation, or are they going to have a serious voice, bearing in mind that a good chunk of the voter population is actually young, and IEBC is hoping to register 7 million new voters starting Monday. 7 million, majority of them, again, they're young people with the power to really tilt the scales of politics. After the break, stay tuned.